Hello and welcome to another episode of LEGO Minifigures Online. In today's episode we're going to be looking at all of the new Series 14 minifigures. So we're going to be going through all their abilities and looking at the talents that they have and talking about those. But first, before we do that, since I've already got the whole Series 14 collection and they gave away one minifigure for free, which in my case is the zombie captain pirate, we actually have a spare code for the zombie pirate. So, if you would like this minifigure, post below in the comments, and I will be selecting a winner at random, and I'll send you the code so you too can have this minifigure. Alright, so we're going to start at the beginning of the list. So we're going to look at the Banshee, which is a light defender character. So we're going to be equipping that one. We're going to be playing through the Dino World, since this is where the higher level enemies are. Of course, not as tough as the Lost Creations, but still probably enough to give you a good idea how these minifigures work and how good they are. So as you can see, the Banshee attacks with, I believe it's a melee attack? Yeah, it's a close ranged attack for its main primary attack. And its secondary is the Banshee's Wail, which is this AoE, area of effect damage, and you can keep on moving while doing it. And since you are a defender character, you'll take less damage than some of the other ones, and you know, it's pretty good. If you have a lot of enemies nearby, you should be able to eventually start taking all their health down and smash them. So that's that minifigure. Let's go and look at what talents it has. Probably best to click on the picture and upgrade. So it's got the usual take less damage and deal more damage abilities. On the second tree you can choose to move faster or deal more damage. Probably want to deal more damage though. And because it's a defender character, it looks like it has quite a few defender upgrades. But this one here helps reduce the damage you take after you use your special attack. And then of course the usual level 21 elemental affinity talent is there. And that's the usual leave behind a damaging energy field. But you can also choose to take less damage after you smash an enemy instead at the top. So, quite a standard set of talents, nothing that really upgrades your special ability. Some talents do, but this one does not. So, that's the Banshee character. Perhaps it will make picking the light element in the Lost Creations a bit more interesting. But now we're going to move on to the Fly Monster, the next minifigure in the series. So I think the Fly Monster's a striker. Yeah, it's a nature striker. So its primary attack is a melee attack. We quite easily took out that group of enemies over there. And as usual, with quite a lot of melee attacks, it can hit multiple enemies that are close by. And its secondary is quite interesting. It's toxic goop. You bombard your enemies with toxic goop, and when you click on it, you fly forward and leave behind a trail, which damages enemies if they stand on it. And as you can see, it actually smashes them fairly quickly, so you could be seeing that ability a lot more. Not sure if this character will be taken through the Lost Creations or not. But on another video we'll be going through the Lost Creations and trying some of these new characters and seeing how well they perform. So after we smash this group of spiders and get the vehicle pass, okay, we completed the quest. So now we're going to look at the talents. So it is a striker character, but what's interesting is the second tier of talents you can actually choose to build faster, which is quite interesting. Or take less damage. Probably you choose to take less damage. If you need a builder, you usually get a dedicated builder character. And this talent, the one where it leaves behind a damaging energy field, is actually at the third tier of talents, which is fairly interesting. Sometimes it's a lot higher up. Then you get a choice between moving faster and finding more power-ups. And then it's the usual do more damage, take less damage, and then do more damage. So there's nothing here that really changes his abilities and how they work, but there are a lot of talents which can increase the amount of damage you do. So we've done the quest in this area, so we're going to switch minifigures, and then we're going to walk our way to the next area. Might as well do quests while doing this, makes it a bit more interesting than just smashing the same enemies over and over again. The next enemy is the next minifigure is the gargoyle. It's a nature defender, and we are being attacked by something. So once again, this is a melee character, and as you can see, it's taking a bit longer to smash this raptor than using the other character, and that's because this one is a defender and not a striker. But its secondary ability is the one which is probably one of the more interesting ones. You right click and you turn into a stone statue, and then, well, once it's over you explode. Doesn't really do a lot of damage, but since it's a defender you take very little damage while in stone form, which means this character could be quite useful for acting as a distraction. So say if you're in the Lost Creations or another type of dungeon and you've got a team of people, you could run in at front, or run in front of all the enemies, take their attention, turn into a statue, and while they're all focused on damaging you, your team members can take them all down. And of course, while you're in stone form, you won't really be taking much damage yourself. So that's quite interesting. It would be kind of good if you could stay in it for a bit longer though, it doesn't seem to last very long. But it doesn't have a cooldown, so you can just keep doing it. As you can see, this raptor is not really doing much damage to us while we're in stone form. Of course, when we're out of it, it then starts to deal a bit of damage. So, alright, let's go up this ramp, away from all the other raptors. Or this, not ramp, it's a sort of staircase. And we're going to look at the upgrades for this character. Again, they've done that second tier of talents, where you can choose between dealing more damage or building, even as a defender. And it's got, from the looks of it, quite a lot of defender related talents. So after you use your special attack you take less damage. That's especially useful for this figure, considering what its special ability is. And also you have the talents which allow you to regenerate health, so while using your special attack you can heal a small amount. So that's quite useful. And then on the sponge ability, so every time you hit an enemy you heal. So this character is definitely designed for tanking against enemies. And a level 18 talents, you can get a shield. And also you can get the charge up ability, but that's more for damage. So it depends on how you want to build this character, although it has a lot of defense talents, so you probably want to build it as more of a defense character. But you might want to take charge up and this damage ability if you really want it to do more damage, but usually for damage dealers you pick other minifigures. So now we're going to go on to the monster rocker figure. He is a tech defender, and we're going to head towards this lava area to do that quest. It's going to avoid those raptors. Right, so we've got to gather the fire embers, but that's not why we're here. So, his first attack. It seems to be, again, a close range attack, but what's interesting is, compared to other close range attacks, it actually would appear to damage enemies all around this figure. And it does just that, so that is different. I don't believe we've seen that before. Of course it does take a small while to smash them all since it is not a striker minifigure. And its secondary ability is static discharge. You pull static energy, overload and shred so hard that the audience goes crazy. Well, it doesn't explain exactly what it does. I'm about to get smashed here, so we're going to just switch to the carpenter and drop down the healing station. Can't get smashed here. Oh, there's one of the tougher raptors in the back. So what it does, it seems to shoot a beam of lightning. Although I'm not really sure what else. I think it just shoots a beam of lightning. It doesn't do anything special. Doesn't seem to do anything like give you a defense bonus or anything. So it seems to be your ranged attack. Alright, well it charges quite quickly. So we're not in the clear yet. We've got this raptor to smash. Right, let's take this bouncer up and hopefully it puts us in a safe area. And it does, it's fairly safe here. Let's look at the Monster Rocker's talents. What's interesting is the first talent is you do more damage. And it seems to have other defense talents, but as well as having some striker talents as well, which sort of makes sense since its first ability seems to be quite useful for dealing damage. There's another strike talent, and this is different. I haven't seen this one before. If you're hit using your special attack, you gain a defense boost. I guess, well, this guy's special attack charges quite quickly, so it could be quite useful. Get a lot of shields. So, I don't know, maybe that is used elsewhere, but I haven't seen that one before. But again, nothing that really changes the way his abilities work. So, now let's go on to the Monster Scientist minifigure. This one is a tech striker, and this one has a really interesting secondary ability. So this character has a close ranged attack where it shoots out sort of sticky goop from the potion, and its secondary is to summon your very own Ogre, which deals a lot of damage. Of course it has its own health, but it doesn't really have a very long cooldown. And now it's back. Of course it can't follow us down, but we can summon it again, and I think it can take some of the aggression off of you, so yeah, they're starting to attack it now, so it can become your sort of mini personal tank. It doesn't have a lot of health, and it doesn't charge or anything, or throw anything, but it's just a really cool ability. We haven't seen one like this before. And if we summon this and change minifigures, you'll notice that it's still there, which is great. That's going to greatly increase the damage you can do, so I can see this figure potentially being chosen when it is a tech element in the Lost Creations. Although, maybe not, since there are loads of great tech minifigures already. Of course it's not invincible, still got to be careful. Alright, so now we're in a sort of... oh, there's a spider. Let's go and look at its talents. So, interestingly enough, it has 2 builder talents, so you build faster. But, of course, you'll probably be taking the striker talents. And the lion-hearted one will most likely always be picked over the smash and dash, since you'll want to deal as much damage as possible, and you will definitely want to be using your special attack, since it is an amazing special attack. And your sort of giant monster minion will definitely be smashing other enemies, so this upgrade again will probably be more useful over the speed boost. But what's interesting is the last talents are ones which allow you to build faster while you're in combat. Oh, and this one's quite, you can see it in other places, although usually it's not at the top. But that just allows you to regenerate your health if you drop below 20%. But yeah, it seems to have this minifigure seems to be able to either be built for damage or for building, which is interesting. Not sure if you'd do that though. So now we've looked at that minifigure, let's move on to the plant monster. This one is a nature builder, so we're not really going to be expecting to do that much damage with it. Its primary attack is another, I think it's a melee attack. It's quite a long ranged one though, since it can hit that raptor from over here. Some melee attacks have a shorter range than others. And what's interesting is, actually we might not be able to take on that group up ahead. It's got two of those bigger raptors. Let's heal up a bit. Its secondary ability is actually quite good. It summons these tendrils which deal a lot of damage, these monstrous roots. And it has a short cooldown, so you can just keep putting them down. So as you can see, we're actually smashing these raptors quite quickly, without losing too much health as well in the process. As you can probably guess, you can put some talent into this minifigure to deal more damage, so when you're going through nature adventures, you might decide to add this minifigure to your team if you have it, since putting down one of these tendril roots and then switching out to a different minifigure can be pretty good. Yeah, we've seen that strategy used a lot in the Lost Creations. So I think we're fairly safe here, so let's look at this guy's talents. So interestingly enough, the first one you can pick is a defense talent, but then there is a damage talent next up, and then another defense one, which is very interesting, especially since it's a builder character. There's a lot of defense options, and again they're the usual choose between defense or attack after you do use your special attack. And then again there's another deal more damage talent, and this one's fairly interesting. You move faster after hitting an enemy. I guess you can just punch someone and then run away quickly. Although probably you'll be picking this one a bit more, since you will switch this figure, place down a thing and then switch to another one. And your special attacks do more damage, so this actually directly affects your special attack. So if you manage to upgrade this figure to full, you can have some pretty scary special attack roots. They can deal quite a bit of damage probably. So we might try and upgrade this figure and show you what it's like in the Lost Creations another time. But now we need to move on to the skeleton guy. This one is a magic defender. We haven't seen many strikers yet. They're probably towards the back. So we've completed this area, so we're going to just quickly teleport to base camp and make our way round to the next area. In my opinion though, out of all the minifigures, this one is probably the least interesting. He has a melee attack, or a close range attack again. The range isn't that long, you have to get quite close. And its secondary ability is interesting, but you know, still a bit generic. It just rains some candy. But I think the main purpose of this is this character is actually meant to be built as a tank, and it actually has a taunt ability. I don't think we have one of those yet, so if you do build this guy into a proper defender, so you have lots of defense talents, you can use this candy ability, and that will make all the enemies attack you. So if you're in a group and you're trying to get people's attention from stop other monsters from attacking your teammates, you can use this and it will make them attack you. You can see that since you have the exclamation marks appear above your head. Of course we don't have any team members here, so we can't really show you how that works. I think that's what it does anyway. I think it makes them attack you. If it does, and that can be quite useful, especially in some of the Lost Creations levels, like the ones where you have to just, well, the ones where you can just run to the construction places and just build stuff. Usually one person distracts all the enemies while the rest of the team builds, so you can use this minifigure to be the distraction. You can actually take the attention off everyone. So that will be interesting to try out, but let's go and look at the talents. So we'll stay near this diver person. So, by the looks of it, yeah, it has a lot of defense talents you can choose. And I don't think there's anything different that we haven't already seen, but there are a lot of things which will reduce how much damage you take. They even got 2 defense choices at the top. The regenerate your health to full after it drops below 20%, or the shield that doubles your defense. So that's the skeleton guy. So the attacks aren't extremely interesting, but what you can do with them is. So now let's move on to the next minifigure, which is the Spectre. He is a shadow builder. And he floats around, just as Spectres would. And we've pulled a lot of enemies. So, his primary attack, well, I managed to smash them quite quickly, is a chain rattle. It's another close range melee attack. Oh, let's avoid these mushrooms. There we go. And we can now start smashing these Vespid colonies. And its secondary ability is you try to scare your enemies by shifting momentarily into the spectral realm. Oh, it's the one you have to hold down. Okay. I wonder if they could attack you when you're in the spectral realm. So you go into this form, and then when you jump out of it, it explodes, dealing a fair amount of damage. It's not a lot, but still a fair amount. You can actually only go forward as well, which is interesting. Like if you use the right mouse button and then try and go left and right, it actually only makes you go forward. So you got to be careful which way you're facing. But it might be good as an escape because does it increase your speed? Okay, no, it doesn't. Never mind. So that is this guy's ability. Actually, does it automatically make you go forward? No, it doesn't. But you can't go backwards, you can only go forwards. Alright, well after we smash this Vespid colony and the other one, we can then take a look at this guy's talents. I wonder, does it do more damage if you stay in this for longer? No, it doesn't. Alright, we're back to the safe zone. Actually, this guy's a builder character. Let's build these things. Might as well make use of the building ability. Just go and build these barrels. This is what builder characters are best at. Building things. Right, now I've built the barrels. Let's go and look at this guy's talents. So, interestingly, you have the move faster ability. You don't actually have any damaging abilities until the level 12 talents. So it looks like this one's not meant to be built as a damage dealer, although I guess you can. It has defense there. And lots of movement stuff, like you move faster, move faster, move faster. So nothing really out of the ordinary. It has sponge at the top, which I guess can be quite useful when you keep hitting enemies you heal. Some people like that sponge ability. So that's the Spectre. And now we're going on to the Spider Lady. It's a magic striker. you've got to find some enemies to attack. There doesn't actually seem to be a lot of them, there's just lots of these flies, or vespids. So again, it's another melee attack. It's quite a close range one. And as usual, you know, you expect it to do a fair amount of damage since it's a striker. But its secondary is fairly interesting. You summon a spider, and it just sort of pokes at the enemy. It did take quite a bit of that raptor's health down. Oh, we're about to get smashed. Oh, he managed to smash it just in time. Now we got a chest and body parts and a leg part. Cool. We got to try on a group of enemies though, so I want to see if this spider can hit multiple enemies at once. Should be able to. And it does. And that's this minifigure. There isn't really much else to say about it. Let's just put one of these down and quickly look at this one's talents. So it has striker talents as you'd expect. It's got 3 speed boost talents, which is really odd. And as you can see, there's lots of choices of defense talents as well. And then in the middle there's all the striker talents. So it's got a real mixture of talents you can pick. It's like all the speed, all the defense. So I don't know if this character is meant to be built as a dedicated striker, since it doesn't have, in a way, as many striker talents as others. But no, it's got 4. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 4. It's got 4 striker talents you can pick. And then you can choose either some speed or defense. Probably defense you'd pick. Right, well that's this minifigure. Let's move on to the next one. It's Squarefoot, which is a nature defender. Squarefoot again has a melee attack. I think most of these characters do, by the looks of it. Takes pictures of enemies and damages them. And its secondary ability is to take lots of pictures, but it actually stuns the enemy. That's an interesting ability. We do have lots of characters that can stun, but it's always nice to have another one. So stunning means that it will stop the enemy from really attacking or doing anything. Also, if they're casting a spell or something, it will stop them from doing that. Although it doesn't look like we're going to be smashing this raptor anytime soon. So that's this figure. It's a defender. It's not really meant to be doing much damage. We're just going to run away so that we can look at the talents. So this one has an interesting mix of quite a few different things. It has a lot of striker talents. It's got 3. And a few building ones. And of course the usual lots of the health or the defense talents. Actually, it sort of has 4 of these striker ones, since you can sort of count this as a striker talent. So it makes you deal more damage after using your special attack. It doesn't really start off with a lot of power. The next one on the list is the Tiger Woman. It is a light striker. And we might move on over back to the other area, since they're not really, don't want to keep fighting vespids. They're not really the most interesting enemy to show off the abilities on. Let's go back and find some of these normal raptors, not ones that are on fire. So this minifigure does a lot of damage. It has quite a long-ranged melee attack, and it swipes in an arc, so you'll be able to hit a lot of enemies at once with it. Of course, well, we're a bit slow, we're stuck in the swamp. There we go, back out again. Here's some more enemies. As you can see, there are a lot of health bars being taken down. And its secondary ability is to let out a flurry of slashes with the whip. the Swirling Flurry. You swirl your whip around in a whirlwind of stunning attacks. The attacks don't really stun, but they do a lot of damage. Probably, if you're in a light pocket adventure, or, well, definitely in the Lost Creations, this character might be seeing a lot more use. And, as you would expect, it has a lot of striker talents. It has 5, although you could choose to leave behind the damaging field of energy instead of the deal more damage talent. Depends on what you like more. And it has a few of the other things, like 3 speed ones and a defense one, but it doesn't really have much defender talents or builder talents. It has 4 speed ones, since this sort of counts. So you have to choose a speed talent at level 18. It's interesting. So that's the Tiger one. And this is the Wacky Witch, a magic builder. Flies around on a broomstick. So at last, I think, yes, we have a ranged character. We haven't seen many of these yet. And for a builder, we managed to still take down these raptors fairly easily. Its secondary ability is also quite useful. Although I might not be seeing a lot of use, but I can see where it could be useful. You can actually turn an enemy into a frog. Hex them. Now they can't attack you. I'm sure in a big group of enemies though, you could only trap one person at a time, so it's not extremely useful, but maybe it can be used on bigger enemies. That would be cool to see if it works. You could try it on bosses. Or if there is a ogre, like one of those ogres, you could turn him into a frog and then smash everyone else and then deal with him after. So you can see that this figure could be useful, and it's got a lot of course, but it's got a lot of speed talents, which is interesting. It doesn't actually have a lot of builder talents at all. There's like 1. It's got lots of speed, some striker, and some defense. It's got a good mixture of everything but builder. So, I guess maybe they made this character to also. Oh, it's got max creativity. So I guess maybe you don't really need many creativity talents. So we're going to move on to the wolf guy. We're nearly at the end of the list now. There's only 3 more minifigures to go after this. Let's go where some more enemies are. So the wolf guy is a pretty solid minifigure in my opinion. He is a shadow striker. His primary attack, as you expect, is a melee attack again. And the secondary ability can deal a lot of damage, and this is the perfect place to show it. You use your claws and you deal a lot of damage in a very short space of time. You can actually also turn while using it, so if there's an enemy behind you, you can quickly change direction. You can very quickly smash objects or enemies with it. So, and it charges quickly as well, so you can pretty much always use it. So that's this figure, and well, it's just quite standard really. Lots of speed, few defense, and quite a few damage talents. So I guess you can choose how you want to build that one. The next one, the zombie businessman, is a tech builder. It is a ranged one. Haven't been seeing too many of those recently. Have to go and find an enemy or 2 to use it on. These are a lot of enemies. Put down the medical thing. So as expected, the attack doesn't do the most damage in the world. But its secondary rains pieces of paper from the sky. But what's interesting is it rains it wherever you are. So if I run over here, it will follow me in this direction. We are running out of health a bit. Let's rain down some paper. So the zombie project management. Your careful planning goes wrong. Missed deadlines and zombie tasks everywhere. It seems to also the briefcase explode. I wonder if that deals damage or not. either way. That's the zombie businessman, and you can choose between these. A lot of power-up collection ones. Find more power-ups, and then loads of speed, and a few striker talents. So that's that character. The zombie cheerleader is a light builder. Is another ranged character. Shoots these green balls of something. Zombie cheers. Oh, they're cheers. And Team Zombie. You call Team Zombie to tackle down your enemies. That's going to be interesting to see. So again, it's another character minifigure which can summon other characters. That is cool. So there's 3 of them. And can you switch minifigures? You can. And they will still attack. And they're actually very quickly taking down this minifigure. Not minifigure, the raptor. So let's look at the talents. Again, it's actually got a mixture of all of them. It's got some striker ones, some defender ones, lots of builder ones. And that's the zombie cheerleader. And finally, onto the zombie pirate. It is a shadow defender. Its primary attack is, of course, its trusty cutlass sword. Rusty cutlass. That is why there's a green trail behind it. I guess it's because he's a zombie. And its secondary ability is just hilarious. You've already seen me use it in the previous video, but still. You shoot a fish, and then after a short while, a shark pops up and throws him in the air. And that is a cool ability since it interrupts everyone. So if they're like casting something, when you get thrown up in the air, they'll stop doing what they're doing. And that's pretty much it for all the figures. Just going to look at this guy's talents, and that would be it. Of course, we have to actually safely get out of here. So let's speed on over to... Oh, okay, this doesn't go where I thought it went. Might as well smash these last guys with a shark. Oh, okay, we smashed them before the shark came. So looking at this guy's talents, it has quite a lot of defender talents, and a few striker ones as well. It's got a lot of defender and health ones. It's like health, defense, defense. So it's got loads of ones for helping to stay alive. But that's really it. It doesn't really have anything extraordinary in the talents. Some of the other ones had a few interesting options. But yes, that's it. That's the quick, well, maybe not that quick, but it was just the overview of all the Series 14 minifigures. Of course, we'll have to see how they perform in the Lost Creations to then give a better opinion on how they work. So in the next episode, I'll either be going through the Lost Creations with some of these, or maybe going through some more monster trials. Since we've only been through once so far, we've got quite a few tickets to use up. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.